But we do have other news today we do want to mention, and we'll head back to storm coverage as we get more information from both the Red Cross and authorities on the ground. Reporters ask questions. That's what they do. Government sources give answers sometimes, but what happens if the source gives away too much? Are both parties at fault? Has the reporter committed a crime? This story hits home close here at Fox, and the reporter in question is our own James Rosen. Correspondent Shannon Bream reports.
That's a very dangerous notion. The notion that the press becomes a criminal by gathering information.
But that is exactly how an FBI agent characterized the conduct of Fox News chief Washington correspondent James Rosen when alleging that he obtained a top-secret intelligence report from a State Department source. FBI agent Reginald Reyes, in an affidavit filed in support of a request for a search warrant, said he believed Rosen had broken the law, quote, at the very least, either as an aider, abettor, and/or co-conspirator.
The notion of pinning the label of criminal on the press because it gathers news from someone who may not have the authority to provide the news is extremely dangerous.
Rosen, who says, quote, as a reporter, I always honor the confidentiality of my dealings with all of my sources, was not contacted by any government or law enforcement representative during the investigation, which included not only accessing his personal email account, but also tracking his movements at the State Department via his building pass. Michael Clementi, executive vice president of news at Fox, says, quote, we are outraged to learn today that James Rosen was named a criminal co-conspirator for simply doing his job as a reporter. In fact, it is downright chilling. We will unequivocally defend his right to operate as a member of what up until now has always been a free press. The Justice Department today saying leaks of classified information to the press can pose a serious risk of harm to national security. Added investigators had followed, quote, all applicable laws, regulations, and longstanding Department of Justice policies intended to safeguard the First Amendment interests of the press in reporting the news and the public in receiving it. A balanced White House Press Secretary Jay Carney says the president also respects.
He is a defender of the right of the press to pursue investigative journalism. He is also, as I've said, as president and as a citizen, insistent upon the need to make sure that classified leaks that can endanger our national security and endanger the lives of American women, men and women overseas, be taken seriously. Also today, a Justice Department Inspector General's report into a possible leak related to the gun-walking operation Fast and Furious quotes emails of both Fox reporter William LaJeunesse and senior producer Mike Levine. DOJ officials tell us they did not subpoena reporter emails or records in that investigation.
What matters is this is happening again and again and again, and it really is a time to call a halt to it.
On Capitol Hill, measures aimed at protecting reporters against being forced to reveal confidential sources have been introduced in both the House and Senate and do have bipartisan support. The president has said he will support legislation that strikes the appropriate balance. Brett.
Shannon Bream in D.C. Shannon, thank you. Let's dig a little deeper on this story with senior political analyst Britt Hume. Good evening, Britt.
Good evening, Brett. In the matter of Fox News correspondent James Rosen, the Justice Department has gone where federal prosecutors have rarely, if ever, gone before. To obtain a search warrant for Rosen's personal emails, they have claimed to a federal court that by doing what journalists do, which is to try to ferret out secrets of government and report them, Rosen has committed a crime. Indeed, they describe how he cultivated a State Department official as a source, set up a confidential method of communicating with him, flattered him, spoke to him on the phone, gasp, and asked him to provide information about State Department actions and intelligence on a foreign country now identified as North Korea. All this, says the FBI in a 36-page affidavit, is in furtherance of a criminal conspiracy to divulge classified information. Did Rosen do this to help an enemy? The FBI makes no such claim. Instead, it cites an email in which Rosen tells his source, quote, I want to report authoritatively and ahead of the competition on new initiatives or shifts in U.S. policy, events on the ground, and what intelligence is picking up. Oh, heaven forbid. The president and his attorney general can recite all the platitudes they like about their respect for press freedom and the need for investigative reporting. But this FBI affidavit contradicts them all. Brett?
Brett, you know, there's a lot of concern about national security. There's been a lot of talk about leaks before. What should the government do in these kind of investigations, do you think?
Well, the government has a right, indeed, arguably a duty, to protect the nation's secrets, some of which are more secret than they ought to be. But that aside, there are legitimate national security secrets that it is the government's job to protect. And when they leak out, the government has a right and a duty to investigate. But what the government has traditionally done in the past is to investigate the leaker and not, if you will, the leakee. And that provides the balance between the government's job to find out what happened and the press's right to pursue information. That's the way it's been done before. That's the way it seemed to have been going up until now. But it seems to me tonight there's reason to doubt that that is the approach being taken by this administration.
Brett, as always, thank you.
You bet.
We continue to look live in the corner of the screen of the Oklahoma damage from the tornado in Moore, Oklahoma. We'll head back there for a live update in just a moment. What the Obama administration knew about the IRS scandal and when seems to be changing by the day. Chief White House correspondent Ed Henry has more on that evolving story.
New problems today for President Obama in the IRS scandal, as spokesman Jay Carney seemed to change the White House's account in two key ways.
On April 24th, as I said, the White House counsel, Kathy Rumler, was informed that the Inspector General for Tax Administration was completing a report about line IRS employees improperly scrutinizing what are known as 501c4 organizations by using words such as Tea Party and Patriot.
Significant, Carney is now saying Rumler got at least some details about the probe, given that yesterday senior advisor Dan Pfeiffer seemed to suggest otherwise about what the White House was told.
Not the details of what happened, not the results of the investigation, but that an independent investigation was about to conclude.
Secondly, Carney revealed today a wider group of senior White House officials, including Chief of Staff Dennis McDonough, were informed by Rumler of the probe, but did not tell the president.
After that initial notification in April, the White House counsel informed the Chief of Staff and other members of the senior staff. At no time did anyone on the White House staff intervene with the IRS Inspector General audit.
1 week ago today, in an off-camera briefing, Carney only mentioned Rumler had been informed and downplayed it by saying she was told, quote, only about the fact that the IG was finishing a review about matters involving the office in Cincinnati.
When you were asked about this in the briefing last week, about White House officials being aware, you just mentioned the counsel's office. You never mentioned that the Chief of Staff and others were notified.
I think I said that White House counsel knew. I think I said that I didn't know till Friday, but I didn't. I'm getting this information to you now.
Republicans believe White House aides may have deliberately insulated the president.
Somebody has to be responsible, Bill, for running the government, and that's what people expect. They don't expect a continued second term of excuses.
And a Democrat well-versed in scandal management said Rumler should have at least notified the president.
I think she's in the wrong job if she doesn't see her position, giving the president a heads up even before there are final conclusions, just on a crisis management, media, political basis.
Now, White House aides tonight are strongly defending Rumler by noting there were a lot of details she was not told before this IG report was finished. They also believe inside the White House it would have been worse to inform the president and potentially have a situation where it looked like they were tampering with an independent investigation. Brett?
Ed, obviously we're watching the breaking news out of Oklahoma, and I've seen a few emails that the White House has put out and monitoring, the president's monitoring the situation.
They are. They say they're working very closely with FEMA, obviously talking to folks on the ground, but also Lisa Monaco, one of the president's top advisors. You remember she was a critical part of keeping the president in the loop during the Boston bombing investigation. She is now briefing the president this evening on the latest developments. We had also been told that Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano has spoken to the governor of Oklahoma as well to reach out and make clear that all federal resources will be there to help. No indication yet tonight that the president will come out and speak. What we're hearing from aides is they want to sort it out, let local officials on the ground figure out how deep, how bad this situation is before the president gets ahead of it. But it seems very likely we'll hear from him tomorrow, Brett.
Yeah, Ed Henry live on the North Lawn. Ed, thank you.